Hello guys, it's Jennifer. It's Jack from Cultaholic.com. Jen's away this week. I'm your host. We are doing the week of November 26th until the 2nd of December, and this is This Week in Wrestling. I'm joined by co-hosts, co-presenters Sam Driver and Ross Tweddle. How are you, gents?
Great.
Lovely.
I'm all right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fair enough. I feel a bit crap. Just went for some lovely blood tests and it went horribly wrong.
You couldn't actually... Well, you did. You went to give blood and forgot to say when, so there's none left.
Like Jim Cornette said. Yeah. No, they just couldn't find in my veins this time, so...
Yeah.
If only I was more like Randy.
Sustained heroin abuse. That's what
Absolutely.
it does to you.
I can contract my veins by myself, yeah. I'm just talking bollocks.
That's how you dilate them, man. That's the other way.
Vasodilation and vasoconstriction.
I can also make my penis go up inside of itself.
Like a scared turtle.
There it goes.
Pulling a scared turtle.
So we'll begin with the 26th of November, 1987. Survivor Series is born. The first ever Survivor Series, which, as we all know, wasn't just invented because Vince thought it would be nice. It was actually more of a despicable, ruthless business tactic. It was ruthless, certainly.
Won't sell your territory remnants to me. I'm coming to get them.
This was to compete with Starrcade.
Yes,
which was
Jim Crockett Promotions and NWA.
The the precursor to WCW Jim Crockett Promotions.
Well, it's basically...
It also took place on Saturday, 2 days ago, only on the WWE Network.
Oh, yes of course it did. God, wasn't it good?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was really good.
At least they aired it this year. God, I couldn't believe when that guy
it's only
did
an hour
that
long,
thing.
though. So they've condensed a 3-hour house show into 1 hour.
Bloody hell.
And it was... Yep.
Still, NWA Starrcade, I think, was sort of like their big show. And yeah, Vince basically said, because he was getting frustrated, because Vince had obviously gone around and started buying up all these territories, any cable provider that carries NWA Starrcade will not get the rights to WrestleMania 4. You will not be able to screen it, so everybody crap their pants. Really. Well, the thing is, like, WrestleMania 3's buy rate was... massive, like absolutely massive, and everybody was afraid of losing profits. So,
in hindsight, though,
in hindsight, WrestleMania 4 didn't quite stack up to WrestleMania 3, but
there were still a few stalwart cable companies that carried NWA over Survivor Series. But
well, Survivor Series was obviously in the early Survivor Series, as with this one, 87. There were no non-traditional tag team matches. It was all about...
4 matches long.
Justin Henry erect.
It was proper.
He's a big fan of the Survivor Series traditional match.
Well, in fairness, this is remembered as one of the better Survivor Series in history, I think it's fair to say. Especially, one of the most noteworthy things that happened in the show was, well, 2 things, I think. Andre getting a measure of revenge against Hulk Hogan when his team beat Hulk Hogan's team in the final.
Yes.
Despite the valiant efforts of, I think, Bam Bam was the last
Bam Bam
babyface.
was the last guy.
And he did a few... I remember watching that match, and he kept doing forward rolls for no reason.
Right.
Just to get away from all, like, but it wasn't...
Well, he liked to prove how agile he was, didn't he?
Yeah, true.
So, but as well, Hulk Hogan is removed from that match, if I'm correct. Basically, they just don't let him back in the ring, so he's counted out.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically kept out of the ring, and he stood there going a bit mental.
They needed a way to get him out without, eliminating him properly, but... Not sure if that was the best way.
He had somewhere to be. He needed to leave home. That's it.
The other big thing I think this pay-per-view's remembered for is the Jumping Bomb Angels in the women's match.
Yeah, they were the last 2, weren't they?
Yeah, they survived together and were streets ahead of not just the other women's wrestlers on the card, most of the men as well.
Yeah.
They wouldn't look out of place today, really. I don't think. They're very agile. They're just one of those...
They wouldn't get away with that name, not on current product.
Jumping Bomb Angels.
That'd be the jumping...
No, you have the Bomber, don't you? Dave Mastiff.
Oh, yeah. And they had to downgrade that from an even more offensive nickname.
The Bastard.
The Bastard, Dave Mastiff. But yeah, the Jumping Bomb Angels, I can't remember their names off the top of my head unless you've written them down here. No, so... it's fine because neither could Vince. Vince couldn't tell them apart either on commentary, so he'd just kind of go, "Oh, look at that." And yeah.
What a maneuver!
Yeah, I think it was Vince on commentary for this.
That sounded like Lord Alfred Hayes, what you just did.
I wasn't trying to be Lord Alfred Hayes.
And what's going to happen is after the match...
I don't quite know what's going to happen, but it's going to be jolly exciting.
That's really good.
There will be 10 men. He's just stood by the board at King of the Ring. I'll never forget. And what will happen is, and there's like a bit of Velcro on the back of the names, if he wins, he will progress to the next round where he will face Macho Man Randy Savage.
He's explaining how cup competition works. I like the one, I can't remember what it is. It might be WrestleMania 3. It's one of the early shows, one of the early pay-per-views. And he stood, and they've just positioned the camera horribly so that it's right in the way. When wrestlers are leaving the arena and getting out, they have to walk past him, and he has to be like, "Oh, excuse me." It's very good. I don't know if there's much more to say about Survivor Series 87, really.
No, so let's have a look. No, I think that's pretty much it. Vince was just... He sort of gave birth to Survivor Series to take down Starrcade. And he's sort of wanted it dead ever since, hasn't he, apparently?
Well, yes, it didn't...
Oh, it was... What year was it? 2007, I think, was the last one. And then there was a massive backlash online from fans.
But then apparently every other year since, he was just like... He's just been like, get rid of it.
Yeah.
Done.
He tried to replace it with bragging rights, and then people weren't having that. They're like, give us our Survivor Series. We're traditionalists.
Survivor Series could be the only reverse stipulation into an event style thing. So you know how like we have Hell in a Cell is now an event. You could just take a Survivor Series match and put that on at Mania.
You could do. That's if you want to get rid of Survivor Series, which some people do. I think Pachiti's a bit more radical in his views on Survivor Series. I think he'd like to see it gone.
I think Raw versus SmackDown needs to go.
I like the pay-per-view.
Or just build the story between brands. Like that's the only way people are going to get invested in it, I think.
I think I'd like to see it stick around. It's not... A lot of people I know it's the least favourite of the big four for them. For me, it's not.
You want to make it like 2005 when they have like arguments with each other on commentary and whatnot. That felt real.
Oh,
yeah.
Those were the days.
Not just Shane.
Yeah.
It's all about Shane now.
It's all about Shane. It's
all about the Shane and how you Shane it.
Sticking with November 26th, but moving a few years ahead now to 1994, where there was a big WWF, as it was then known, title change between big Bobby Backlund, who'd returned shockingly from his heyday. He was older now, and he'd won. He defeated Bret Hart at Survivor Series.
Got a massive heel pop for that.
Yeah.
People hated him for it.
He lost. He beat Bret because Bret's mum threw in the towel.
Yes.
Like, stop hurting me, son.
That was the whole thing, wasn't it? It was like Hart family intervention.
Owen did convince her to, and then in a heelish fashion.
Yes.
And then Bob Backlund held the belt for, I believe...
3 whole days. And the way I've put it down here is, you're in Madison Square Garden for a WWF house show. Mm-hmm. You've got your pint, you've got your popcorn, and you've got your Bob Backlund duvet set from merchandise.
Yep.
Because everybody's, big fan. You look to the ring, you see Diesel and your childhood hero, and mine, Bob Backlund. Yeah, he's in the ring and he's staring them down, and they're looking at each other, and then you blink, and then all of a sudden Diesel's holding up the belt, and you're really confused.
Didn't that weird celebration, didn't he, Diesel?
He ran around, like waving his arms wild and just
head banging.
He looks like he's almost going to fall over. Like it's because he literally just goes kick to the midsection, jackknife, and the jackknife. The landing Bob takes on that looks bad. So he lands arse first. He just goes, whoa.
So they've since released the footage, but this was actually originally at a house show. Yeah. Old school, because by this point, pay-per-view's been going for a few years now. Yeah. Quite strange that he would try and... Bret Hart beat Ric Flair for the belt at a house show as well.
Sacramento.
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. It was MSG.
It was MSG this one.
I guess that's, a historic
it's
WWE
the home
venue.
Of WWE, so.
But still a strange one. It clearly showed that Bob Backlund was only meant to be a transitional champion to move it from Bret to Diesel.
Apparently the problem with that was that Bret was a mega face, Diesel was a mega face, and they couldn't turn either one of them heel because it would be bad for business. So they went, we hired Bob. We haven't really known what to do with Bob since we brought him back. So,
give him another title
him the belt
reign.
3 days.
I don't know if it would have harmed Bret less to lose to Diesel than Bob Backlund.
Yeah, but then it's like, well, how do you spin it? Is it like one of those mutual, like, shake hands and may the best man win? Or
thoughts on Diesel's title reign? Because it's not got a good
It's one of the most controversial ones, isn't it?
Didn't draw a dime.
Not many people liked
Vanilla Giant.
Yeah. He was kind of a pre-Roman Reigns, wasn't he?
But
Vince
business was on its arse for his reign.
Might not necessarily have been his fault, He obviously carried the belt into WrestleMania alongside both Pamela Anderson and the other one. She's famous as well. What's her bloody name?
I know what you mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, defeated Shawn Michaels in another jackknife where Shawn basically landed on his feet this time.
That was Shawn, that.
That was Sean's fault. He did it on purpose, yeah.
Dirty bastard.
Didn't want to put his mate over.
Nah.
Have you heard Kevin Nash talk about it since?
No.
He's just like, yeah, fair play. Yeah, I would have done the same.
Bunch of knobheads, aren't the wrestlers? Just be friends, man.
But an interesting fact about this victory made Diesel the first man to win WWE's Triple Crown in under a year.
Okay.
And basically he managed to do that in 227 days. And it would only be achieved and bettered by one other person, that's CM Punk. And he managed to do it in 203 days in 2009.
Oh, it was a mega push he was on the end of. He was like a precursor to Roman Reigns, but...
Well, he was going to get fired, wasn't he, until the 94 Rumble. And then he cleared everyone out, and then everyone thought, oh, he's quite good, him. He's quite powerful and scary and big and sexy.
But big and sexy.
Yes, Kevin
indeed.
and Nash.
So, yeah, well done, Kev. If no one has anything else to say on that, we can move on to the next one. Involving a man we've just mentioned... CM Punk on the 27th of November 2014 appeared on Colt Cabana, his former best friend's Art of Wrestling podcast.
And everything went wrong.
Well, from the studio.
Well, initially it went right because it broke the internet, didn't it?
For this it did, yeah. This was when basically Punk talked through his exit from WWE. He went through everything from... It was. There's never been really quite a thing like it, quite an interview like it.
There's a list of things here that he covered. So there's the... Basically, he reveals that he was fired on his wedding day, that WWE's medical staff, specifically Chris Oman, did not take the lump on his back seriously, that he feels Ryback's carelessness has taken years off his life, that WWE's concussion procedures are broken, that their injury procedures are broken, that WWE was a pit stop for him, nothing more, nothing less, that the environment within the WWE was toxic, that the problems he was facing medically were all linked back to Chris Oman.
And he pooed his pants in the ring.
Yeah, he did actually say that he defecated in the old ring, because that's what antibiotics do to you, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did a big old turd in the ring.
He's wearing white trunks as well.
It was on a SmackDown, apparently. Big dirty, dirty trunks.
That's obviously the biggest thing to take away from this story. But apart from pooing his pants in the ring, he also recently went to court. And he
went to
won.
court in 2014. Chris Oman filed a lawsuit in 2014, and it's taken until this year.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it got resolved this year.
Or was it? It was early 2015. It was basically I think it was February actually, 2015, and that was when it was filed. And they then filed countersuit. Punk then went, "Don't worry about it, Colt. I've got your fees."
Allegedly.
Yes. And then basically,
I don't remember saying that.
Yeah, they fell out over it. And then there was, victory, absolute victory over Dr. Chris Oman and his Z-Pack Mafia.
It was funded by WWE as well, remember? Throughout all
he was
of this.
bankrolled by WWE.
Yeah. There's a strange vendetta WWE have against Punk. They kind of think they see him as like the one that managed to really stick it to them, and they're like, oh. Although from the podcast, I remember listening, I remember thinking Punk's relationship with Vince came across a lot better than his relationship with Triple H. It was Triple H you really didn't like. I remember when he told them he was leaving, Vince like hugged him and stuff. Triple H was just awkwardly there.
He apparently didn't even specify that he was leaving. They just seemed to know, because he walked into this meeting and was like, "I've lost my love for the business," all this stuff, and was just talking in very broad terms. And then they stood up to say goodbye. But apparently all they wanted throughout that meeting was for him to just piss in a cup, because they needed to test him for stuff. And then eventually he just went...
He's straight edge.
I know he is, but, come
on.
You never know what's...
taking no sleeping pills, mother effer.
What?
Is it Jeff Hardy when he's in the diner thing?
Yeah. Wow.
Oh.
But...
that was when the Hardys were at a bit of a low point.
Yeah. But, they stood up at the end. Vince hugged him and cried, and Triple H just went, "Look,
he described Triple H as the guy in the room who's always trying to make his pals laugh at you, but he's actually not funny." Didn't paint a very good picture of Hunter.
Nerd.
Yeah, I know. No, well, CM Punk's the nerd, as Jeff Hardy said in the video that Ross was on about there. Yeah. CM Punk's a nerd. Then Matt gets the camera and he's like, "Amy knows she can talk to me whenever she likes." Anyway, it's not important. Moving on to the 27th of November 2006. Survivor. I didn't make that up, by the way. 5, sorry. Didn't make that up, by the way. That did happen. 27th of November 2005, Survivor Series 2005. This was the first WWE pay-per-view since the sad passing of Eddie Guerrero. Featured a lot of matches, good and bad. When I talk about bad, I'm mentioning perhaps the worst one on the card. I say perhaps the worst one on the card. It was almost certainly the worst one on the card. Teddy Long versus Eric Bischoff in the Observer's worst match of the year.
for the entirety of 2005.
I can't remember that match. You know?
I remember, reading from Justin's notes on this event. This is
player.
like, if you want to see Raw versus SmackDown, this is the event you watch. Because this is where they nailed the whole brand versus brand aspect.
Was this the one where Orton won and then
Undertaker
came out?
Yeah.
Was this the first year of SmackDown versus Raw video games as well?
2004,
so
that was, yeah.
it?
Yeah, 2004. I remember that Christmas well.
So the main event, so Team Raw versus Team SmackDown. SmackDown was Batista, Ray, JBL, Bobby Lashley, and Randy Orton against Shawn Michaels, Kane, Big Show, Carlito, and Masters. The Masters of Cool.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
It's happened again.
They are the best
Five-star
tag
wrestling.
team ever.
It all went down to the final two, and Randy Orton was able to prevail, not starting, but one of his many, many impressive Survivor Series performances. He's really good at Survivor Series, just is.
Just not good enough to get on the most recent team.
Yeah, which he actually said on Twitter, didn't he? He went on there and said, even though I'm the GOAT in this particular match type. And he is really good at it, to be honest. So is Michaels. It all came down to those two, I think. Two of the best ever in Survivor Series matches. And it was a good, one of the best, I think, traditional tag team Survivor Series matches. Elsewhere, Booker T beat Benoit to win the vacant US title. Was that part of the best of five?
Best of seven.
Best of seven,
Yeah.
sorry. Triple H beat Ric Flair in a bloody last man standing match.
Flair's
a good match.
last great match, isn't it? Well,
Apart from the Michaels one.
yeah. Apart from that one.
But that match is one of the ones where you watch where you're like, he's really good, Ric Flair, but calm down a bit.
I could be like your edgy mate from the internet and be like, Ric Flair, good match, never happened.
John
In my opinion.
Ric Flair. John Cena beat Kurt Angle to retain the WWE Championship, and the aforementioned Teddy Long, Eric Bischoff squabble. I think that would be a good time to debate. Well, we've already sort of touched upon it, but can Raw vs. SmackDown be done successfully in the modern day?
100%.
Do you reckon? What would
It
it
takes
take?
a good storyline. Like, I don't know how you would achieve it, but you need the fans to feel a loyalty to one brand over another.
Right.
And I think with a brand focus on different, like if you look at the SmackDown 6 type, like people really wanted to watch SmackDown at the time. If you had another sort of thing like that, where Raw had like a defined set of people, SmackDown had a very defined set of people, and then they were just kept away from each other. Just keep them away from each other for as long as possible, and then at Survivor Series it makes sense.
It's just the little things like adverts for each brand on the opposite brand. They shouldn't happen.
Little digs between commentary, like
the one night of the year thing needs to go because it's just a lie.
just turn it, because they basically invented their own competition with the brand split. Like SmackDown should be ragging on Raw should be ragging on SmackDown on every aspect, like down to commentary,
Different
making
stages,
digs and-
different camera angles, which I know they tried.
Well, they've got different stages, Ross. One's got like a load of little squares, and then the other one's got a big square. And they both got the exact same
I want
ramp.
a fist, Sam. I want a fist.
Oh, do you
Right
really?
in my ass.
If there was ever a time for the fist to come back, now would be the time with Daniel Bryan as the crazed champion. He could demand it. He could say, I want the fist back. I think they'd have to say yes.
I can't believe they didn't bring it back for SmackDown 1000.
I think they just need, yeah. Did they not?
No.
Wow.
Well, apparently the reason is because it'll look crap in HD.
Well, no, the fist apparently looks fine. It's the things like the painted sets, like the backlash hooks and everything, look really cheap and bad because they're all hand painted. But the SmackDown fist's a massive chrome fist. Like, how can that look bad?
Just make an LED fist.
No.
Yeah.
If you want a fist, you're getting a big
Yeah,
chrome
but just
one.
doing that all night. It's like a Christmas light.
Look like a lucky cat. Just
Moving on now to the 29th of November 1999, the shock wedding reveal between Triple H and Stephanie McMahon-Helmsley.
Bit of date rape for the dads.
woo.
But it wasn't.
But it was.
But it
Well,
wasn't. It's
it
fine.
wasn't, no.
It was all revealed
It's
to
all
be.
a ruse.
We all thought it was. but then
Yes,
it
well,
wasn't.
that was the purpose of that thing, was to
Bit of date rape for the dads.
No, don't ever say that again.
That's what we're all here for, isn't it?
What?
Bit of date rape for the dads.
I am not here for date rape.
As you've written here, Sam, nothing is better than a wrestling wedding. No matter how much of a dead cert it is, you always know something's going to go drastically, horrifically wrong. Savage and Elizabeth's didn't go wrong until it did eventually.
Eventually,
the after
Undertaker
party.
and Jake the Snake locked
Yeah.
up for some reason.
To be evil.
To be evil,
I'm
basically,
evil.
yeah. And Jake ran around with his snake, going like, whoa, and putting it in people's faces.
Can't be doing that at a wedding.
He was inside a box, wasn't it? That was it. I think
Yeah.
Elizabeth opens a box
It was
and
one
she
of the
nearly
gifts.
fainted.
Like, oh, George Foreman. Oh, what's this? Maybe not George Foreman back then.
Ooh, Hulk Hogan meat warming sneakers.
This was arguably the most controversial of all the wedding angles, unless we're counting maybe Dawn Marie and Tori Wilson's dad, which was just
it was controversial because Fabulous Moolah was one of the guests.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
So the guests were introduced in pairs for the wedding of Stephanie and Test.
Yes.
Not Triple H. It was originally supposed to be Test.
Big, dirty,
I listened to
angry.
Pritchard's podcast about Test
I've listened
recently,
to
and
this,
I didn't realise how quickly Test and Stephanie got together, and then Test proposed, and Steph said,
matter
no,
of
I'm
weeks.
going to wait. And then the Thursday after, Stephanie said yes.
Are we talking about...
So it went from like 3 weeks from Stephanie, from Test asking Stephanie to go out with him, to Stephanie saying no, or sorry, I'll wait.
We're talking about real life here, or storyline?
Storyline.
Real life.
Storyline. I was going to say, did Test ever go out with Stephanie in real life?
No,
Was that not a thing? No, right,
No.
sorry, yeah.
No, Stephanie was dating a baseball player or something at the time.
Oh, right, okay. Well, Stephanie, in the end, was not present for the wedding. Wait, what's this? I've not seen this. There's so the guests were including D'Lo Brown, Moolah, Sean Stasiak, all the greats, as you said. There's a really cheesy 3-minute song about togetherness performed live to an audience.
Stephanie and Andrew, because they keep referring to him as Andrew, not
Andrew
Test.
Test Martin. Do you think do you, Andrew Test Martin?
Well, he comes out to his own theme.
Yeah.
So, everybody else is coming down to this really creepy music, and there is D'Lo Brown, Fabulous Moolah, Sean Stasiak, all the big boys. And then, there's literally 3 minutes they're still in the ring. Stephanie's looking at Test and sort of smiling, and like it gets really awkward. Test just looks bored by the end of it, completely bored. And it's this weird song about togetherness. It's just
Lovely.
the cringiest thing.
What do you want sang at a wedding like?
Nothing during the ceremony.
Thought a song about togetherness should be at a wedding.
Not the same song they used for some of the Liz and Macho Man montages.
Maybe.
Together!
Yeah, that one, yeah.
It
might
sounds
be.
like it.
Yeah, it could be the same one.
To the tune of In the Ghetto.
In the ghetto.
So the audience are sort of like sat there really awkwardly while Test is going and Stephanie's going. And then, the priest starts up talking, and then he asks Test, will you take Stephanie? And then all of a sudden you hear 1, 2. Is this on? That's
wow,
the
wow,
one.
wow. I liked My Time.
My Time is the best Triple H theme.
Oh, do you think?
Yeah.
I really liked. When I was a kid, it was my favorite theme.
Yeah.
But might have just been because Triple H was my favorite wrestler.
Yeah. But he comes out in a leather jacket, little leather jacket and a flower, looking all great, and he goes, Vince, I know you said nobody was going to interfere with the wedding. Don't worry, I'm not going to interfere with any wedding. Just think you should see this. And then what does he put on the screen, Ross?
He puts a bloody video to the lovely little chapel in Las Vegas.
He talks a lot about there's a opposite the chapel is a shop that sells porn, and he keeps fixating on it. It's very strange.
Popping the boys, isn't he?
Yeah.
The boy popper. Under the boy popper.
Another thing from the Pritchard podcast, Triple H filmed and produced all that by himself. The clever boy.
It's not that good. It's not Scorsese.
What a clever boy.
And Steph's in the car. It's a drive-through chapel, I think.
Yes.
She's all unconscious, and for some reason...
Triple H keeps telling everybody at home, though, how romantic it is and how he's always wanted a romantic wedding.
What a heel.
And it only cost him $40. So he was like, best bargain.
Triple H, for some reason, he's fine, and it's allowed to go ahead, but it would later be revealed.
Well, when she asks Stephanie, he just turns over and he goes, I do, in a high-pitched voice.
Yeah, she stood like here, and he goes... Yes, I do.
Right.
That was her.
And the guy's like, yep, you're married now.
Yeah.
And everyone's horrified, obviously, but it was all a ruse to get one over on Vince.
Yes, it was.
They actually were fine and turned on him. And then Vince aligned with them a few months later at WrestleMania. But it's whatever. Yeah, it's all right.
The dysfunctional family.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a weird one. Not sure what I really think of it.
Maybe he was going to reveal to Triple H that he was married to Stephanie all along, and that was going to lead into the incest angle he wanted to do.
Maybe. Triple H is, at this time, often skirted the lines between heel who cheats to win wrestling matches and most evil man alive. It was only a few months after, about a year after this, that he would try and murder Stone Cold by getting Rikishi to run him over.
Yes.
Do we want to see a return of that where heels are actually psychopaths?
Yeah.
No, it was Survivor Series 99 when he ran him over, wasn't it?
Oh, yes. It was later revealed, sorry. Yes, of course.
Yeah.
So it was around this time. He was in his evil prime at this point, yeah.
I want heels to be like this again.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose is. You know why
As well.
Roman Reigns got
Oh my
leukemia?
god.
Yeah.
Because he was
He
part
was-
of the Shield.
But this
They were
is it,
rotten from the core
you've
from
got,
the start.
You got heels just going out there and just being like, I'm better than you. Why? Because I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Punch
You're
a kid.
good, but you're not quite
Get into a
phenomenal,
fight with a
lad.
plant in the audience. Do something. Make it look real. Make people scared to go up to these people at Access. I know they're going
Ooh.
to sell like merch and stuff, but it's actual investment. Have Kevin Owens just walk out, punch some bloke in the front row. Everybody go wild.
I think you need a variety of heels, and I think there is a place for Miz. Miz is the best one at it.
Got
being
it.
being a sort of smug heel.
Bring Zandig in.
No,
Yeah.
right. Moving on now. The 30th of November 1979, and it was part of the. It's the main point of dispute, I think, in the fine lineage of the WWE Championship.
I'm just going to take a step back from this point.
Okay,
You damn skippy you are.
so
Just lean in and go, whenever you can.
so there's been, I think, 50 WWE champions
Yes.
at the current time of recording. Obviously, Daniel Bryan's the current one, but there's been 50 unique champions. 50 different men have held the belt. And if you, some people, it's not officially recognized, but you could also say there's 51 because of the New Japan Pro Wrestling founder, Antonio Inoki,
Big scary boy.
who once defeated Bob Backlund for the belt at a match in Japan, and it all went just tits up.
They like quickly realized they didn't want to leave the belt on him, didn't they?
Yeah, I think that's understandable.
Yeah.
You don't want to leave your belt in Japan.
With the founder of another company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was in the era it was just a toy, wasn't it?
This belt's just a
Yeah.
toy. No, it was a bit before then. The belt was quite new by this point. It had been held by relatively new. It was a prestigious belt because of like San Martino,
Yeah.
Pedro Morales, and all these big great champions. Backlund was not as universally loved as like Morales and Backlund. He was kind of
Backlund wasn't loved as much as Backlund.
Backlund, sorry, wasn't loved as much as Morales and San Martino.
Oh, okay, right.
Bruno, I meant to say.
Yeah.
But because he was kind of an early John Cena. He was a bit too just clean cut.
Well, that was it. He was very, well clean and like shaved.
I'm an
and-
amateur
and
wrestler.
Just basically like wore trunks and boots and was very plain. Very, very plain.
He was just a good old fashioned
American boy.
and Howdy Doody, as he was nicknamed.
Yes.
With just sort of disparagingly. But the big sort of mark on his reign is the fact that it was this whole situation. So Inoki then had the belt, and then there was
Did Inoki just slap the piss out of him? Because
I've never seen the match.
Bang, 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 pin.
So Inoki then held the belt, even though it's not officially recognised, and then they had a rematch for it, but it was ruled off due to interference by Tiger Jeet Singh, and Inoki. I think that basically Inoki didn't want to get pinned for it, but in humble fashion.
Well, he was in front of his home crowd.
I know.
Brett didn't want to get pinned in Canada, but
True.
you know how that ended.
True. Martin Kirby refuses to put anyone over in Thirsk, so
Yeah.
it's fine. No, I don't know if he did.
I will slap the piss out of anybody that comes into my bedroom and
Yeah.
tries to pin me while I'm sleeping.
for your belt.
Yeah.
God knows we'll all try.
So Inoki voluntarily forfeits the title, and his reign is just struck from the record because he was too ashamed to have retained it in a match that had interference. If that
Right.
rule was held up today, that would be absolutely fantastic.
He still got into the Hall of Fame, though.
Yeah,
I don't know if they mentioned it during his ceremony.
I don't know actually. I don't know.
He was like 2005, I think, wasn't he? He was way back when it was just kicking off again.
So this was all a massive mess. Backlund eventually won it back from someone else. I can't remember who it was in a match for the vacant belt.
Yeah.
Who that guy never was champion. This other guy I'm thinking of. But Inoki kind of was, but not officially. And then Backlund would go on to hold it for a little bit longer and then drop it to the Iron Sheik. He was meant to drop it to Hogan, but he didn't. Bob Backlund didn't want to put over Hulk Hogan.
Makes sense.
Well, he didn't want to put over anyone who couldn't shoot,
Out-wrestle
brother.
him, yeah.
Couldn't be an amateur wrestler, so they went, Sheik's a wrestler.
That's like the traditional way they did it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
to prevent other
respect
promotions
and-
from...
Yeah.
But... Silly Bob.
It was like Lou Thez. Adam Cheaty's favorite. I think he was in a car traveling with somebody, and I can't remember who it was that trained him, but somebody was complaining about him in the car, and Thez just sat there and listened, and he was calling him all the names under the sun, and he was basically labeling him as cheap because he wasn't paying the guys as much and all this stuff. And then Thez just basically got to the venue, had a quiet word with the NWA representative, and that guy never won another match again. He would never face Thez again. And it was like mental, like the sort of power that people had when they were respected shoot wrestlers.
Dirty carny business.
Yes.
Dirty. Moving on now to the 2nd of December 2000. From bloody Sheffield, down the road from
Rebellion.
Newcastle, a small mining town just outside of Newcastle, Sheffield, for Rebellion. A UK exclusive pay-per-view. I don't remember. Does either of you?
No,
Oh,
I've
dear.
seen Insurrections. I will have seen Rebellion. I'm sure I had Rebellion on VHS.
But which one?
Was there multiple?
Yeah, there was multiple
Yeah.
Rebellions. Yeah,
Were
yeah.
there?
There was a few.
Okay.
There was a
I thought,
clutch,
I
a
thought
peck.
there were multiple Insurrections. One
They were both-
I think
Rebellion.
it was 3 or 4.
Did you go? Which one did you go to?
You would have went
My
with
pal went to
Rebellion.
Insurrection.
You didn't go to
Insurrection.
one?
No, I didn't go to Insurrection. I didn't get a ticket.
Yeah, I couldn't get tickets that either. I was gutted.
My pal took a sign famously. I think I've said this about 20,000
Yeah,
times
tell it
now.
again.
Yeah, Triple H beat my sign.
Whoa.
Very topical for
What a smart.
2003.
How
Yeah.
old was your friend as well?
Yeah, older than us.
So not at the time, not that
At the
old.
time, 2003. Well, yeah,
But you'd
he was
been
12,
about, you'd been about 11 or 12.
12 he
What
would
a,
have been, yeah.
He was a 12-year-old smart?
Yeah.
Wow.
Impressive group of pals I have.
Was he at least good at football to balance it out or not?
He's a wrestler now.
What?
Jonah Phoenix.
Sorry, he's an actual wrestler.
Aye.
You've got a friend who's a wrestler who you knew before this.
Yes.
What? What? You've just brought hang on.
I think he's only recently started wrestling.
Oh, right, okay,
Tom
right.
Campbell's commentating on a couple of his matches.
Really?
Our pal Tom Campbell.
Why haven't you had him in?
Are you still in touch with Jonah Phoenix?
No. Well,
Oh.
sort of.
All
Jonah
right.
Phoenix, if you're watching,
Yeah.
get in touch.
Hello.
Ross,
Wow.
Ross wants to take you for a lovely meal.
Yes.
Some highlights of the
Why
card.
can he be awkward all the time?
Some highlights of the card. The Dudleys defeated TNA, that's Test and Albert,
Tits and ass.
and Edge and Christian in a 3-team elimination Tabella's match. Crash Holly beat William Regal somehow to become the European champion. Steve Blackburn, what a lad, beat Perry Saturn to retain the Hardcore Championship. Undertaker beat Chris Benoit, and in the main event, Stone Cold defeated Rikishi.
No.
Kurt Angle defeated Stone Cold, Rikishi, and The Rock to retain the WWF Championship. This would have been around the time. It would have been the build-up, wouldn't it, to the big Armageddon match where he kept retaining it by the skin of his teeth.
Yes.
Lucky boy. I don't know what to make of this show, really.
It's a house show, innit? That's what
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah.
Present a
Essentially.
house show as a pay-per-view.
I'm surprised there haven't been any more UK exclusive pay-per-views with the advent of the network.
Yeah, me too. Very surprised,
Yeah.
actually.
Like, King of the Ring is one I thought, because it was advertised, wasn't it?
They all, yeah.
It was
yeah.
advertised in the post-WrestleMania, or the mid-WrestleMania advert.
Everyone was like, whoa.
And it said King of the Ring. And I reckon that would work as a UK-only pay-per-view.
Yeah,
Because
same.
then you'll just put it on Pete Dunne after, 58 other people have tried. And then he'll walk around NXT with it.
So you don't think it'll work then? That's what you're saying.
Well, no, it'll work. It'll just go on Pete Dunne, won't it?
Okay. He does win a lot of the time, to be fair. He's just had a kid at
Yes,
the
he
time
has.
of recording.
Congratulations, Daddy Don.
Congratulations,
Sure, that
Pete.
means a
Daddy
lot
Don.
coming from us.
Sticking with the 2nd of December now, but moving ahead to 2010, where Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP, was granted his release from WWE. And then did some surprising stuff that I wasn't sure I knew about, actually, Sam.
He was the
Really?
mystery investor, wasn't he?
He was a mystery
TNA?
investor in TNA. And should I take through it?
Go for the New Japan bit, yeah.
Okay, so basically, requested and granted his release. Basically, they, I guess, the famous like WWE thing of we've not got anything for you. Within months, he'd head to New Japan, becoming the first ever IWGP Intercontinental Champion.
Wow.
And this is when the belt had this weird, cool-looking design. Like, it didn't look the same as it does now. It was just sort of like, it looked like a big penny, but it was all like carved in, the Intercontinental stuff.
Like a tag team championship belt.
Sort of, yeah, but it looked a lot more like, it looked like it had been sitting in a museum for years. It was all tarnished and it looked great. And then he would drop the belt very quickly after, I think it was a 2-year run in the company or something, and would then go to TNA. He would appear as the mystery investor, and then he was probably most memorable as the leader of the Beatdown Clan before being unceremoniously fired because it all goes very, very wrong. Basically, TNA signed Hernandez because MVP
Your pal,
was
your
like,
bathroom friend.
yeah,
Seen his cock, haven't you?
hey buddy, just did that.
What's it like? Length, girth? What we're talking
I
about?
wasn't. I'm not really a bathroom stall looker. Are you?
Do you have a tattoo
Yeah.
with Willie?
I don't know. I was scared he'd border toss me if I looked.
He was a wide man.
Oliver Reed has or had a tattooed cock.
Oliver Reed.
Yeah.
Oliver Reed.
Who's that?
Actor.
Oh, right,
Actor,
okay,
very
right.
famous actor.
Oh, sorry. If I saw him, I'd probably...
Well, he's dead now.
Played Mr. Sykes in Oliver Twist.
Yes,
the old
yes,
one.
He
of
was-
course. I know you mean.
He's very famous for his battles with alcoholism and his legendary drinking abilities.
He's a
On the
bloody
set
sexist
of
as
Gladiator,
well.
I think it was on the set of Gladiator, he managed to drink, and one night it was something like 14 bottles of wine. But the table basically had a bill, and it came to some extreme amount of money. But he'd then just rock up to the set, hanging out of his arse,
Tattooed
shoot.
cock as well.
Tattooed knob. But
My
basically,
mate's seen Howard Stern's cock.
really,
Yeah. Anyway, Premier League referee.
What's it?
What?
I thought you said Howard Stern.
Oh, did who's
Yeah.
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern's
The radio
shock jock.
guy.
Oh yeah, I'm thinking of Howard Webb.
Howard Webb.
Yeah, Howard Webb. Not Howard Stern. He's seen Howard Webb's cock, which I think is actually better.
There's so many Americans who just went, what?
Yeah. No, he's not seen Howard Stern's. He's seen skin-headed Premier League referee, former Premier League referee Howard Webb's cock. Right.
Anyway, back to it,
MVP.
basically.
Yeah.
TNA would then did hire Hernandez.
In a toilet. Sorry, you didn't. Howard Webb wasn't running around. Carry
There's
on.
no how. No, TNA did not hire him in a toilet. So TNA were like, we need more people. MVP was like, you got to hire this guy, Hernandez. Pushing. So TNA went, okay, hired him. Get him under contract, did a load of TV tapings. And then Lucha Underground come knocking and they go, you been using Hernandez? And they were, yeah. And they went, see in court. And basically, there was a contract dispute. Hernandez hadn't told them he was under contract, and MVP was the guy that had been pushing so hard to get him in the company. MVP then took the fall and was booted out of TNA. And then, they had to then remove him from TV tapings, so they had to go back and re-edit weeks of TV. They had to edit all the commentary, so remove any mention of him, all this stuff. So that must have been a great cost. But then MVP, then he's all right.
He's all right.
Doing it. He's on Raw 25, wasn't he?
SmackDown 1000, wasn't it?
He was on Raw 25.
Was it Raw
in the
25?
It was
backstage
just in the bloody APA
poker.
thing.
Oh, I thought that was SmackDown. Sorry.
And then, I'm assuming he's going to come back for one more run.
No,
isn't he?
I don't think so.
Really?
I think he's a bit older than we think.
Who wants to see
He's
him?
a little bit older, but I mean, they paid so much money for him, and he can still sort of go.
That
if
was
you've
just
seen him.
kayfabe
just
times.
the
Don't
gimmick.
worry. Yeah.
Really?
Well, probably both, but his gimmick was that he was.
Apparently, no, that was the gimmick, but apparently they did offer him quite a large sum of money.
Why?
I
He
think
was
he
just
was
alright.
a gifted natural athlete, like a JR type hire.
Right. Okay. Ball in. I liked his entrance. I'm
Yes.
coming.
Oh, with his little inflatable
Like an entrance tunnel.
archway.
Yeah, it was
little,
cool.
Flags.
Remember his feud with Matt Hardy and not much else. Right. Unfortunately, it's time to talk now about some deaths. We've got 3 to talk about today. First of all, on November 29th, 1998, sadly, Giant Haystacks passed away at the age of 52. One of the only wrestlers that I'd wager any of our relatives, not yours, because yours know about
No,
wrestling.
if anybody just on the street, even of a certain age.
In the
I
UK.
think in the UK would know him.
If someone asks what my job is, and I tell them like a taxi driver or whatever, they're like, it's only a matter of time before they mention Big Daddy Giant Haystacks or Mick McManus.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, Mike Ryan used to
110%.
go and watch him.
Giant Haystacks
It's
himself.
in James's Park. They used to have wrestling on Saturday night. It's in James's
Really?
Park.
Nice.
On the pitch.
On the pitch.
That sounds class.
Really?
I think it was on the pitch, unless you're just talking complete
Could be in one of the function rooms.
shit to me.
There's Gilly's mum, I think, as a kid saw Giant Haystacks versus Big Daddy, one of those awful matches that everybody looks at and laughs.
Oh, just run into each
But
other.
she was like, it was amazing.
Nice.
Like, yeah.
I think then he went to WCW, didn't he, for a little bit?
He was Loch
as
Ness for a little bit. He was
He's
one
a
of the
genuinely
first.
massive bloke.
Yeah, he was one of the first first sort of popular modern super heavyweight wrestlers.
Right.
Because obviously there were a lot like Haystacks Calhoun, which I'm assuming he derived his name from. But like he was a super heavyweight. There's no other way to really put it. He was massive.
When he went to WCW, when I found that out, that was so much later than I assumed.
Oh,
I
God,
thought
yeah,
it would have
yeah.
been like.
94,
No,
wasn't
it's
it?
like-
Was it that late?
Yeah.
It's later than that, isn't it?
I think it might be a bit later than that.
I think
even.
it's like 96.
I think it's late, moving into the late. Because was he not part of the Dungeon of Doom?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like mid 90s, maybe even later. But it wasn't long before he passed away in 98. So, yes. Also on November 29th, but in 2003, Moondog Spot passed away at the age of 51. One half of the Moondogs. One of like Lou Albano's tag teams, I guess. I remember them as.
Underrated character wrestler, I think.
Bit of caveman
Was
sort
it
of.
a
act-
savage,
Caveman,
yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
savage, would chew on a bone and beat people up with it.
A lovely perm.
Yeah. Greasy
blonde
man.
perm.
I can't remember which of the Moondogs it was. It might have been him that was in the Wrestling Classic. The one after the pay-per-view after WrestleMania 1.
Spot's the more famous one, isn't he?
The blonde one.
Yeah.
Might have been him then. He had a club. I remember
Yeah.
that. And also finally on December the 2nd,
You ruined it by already mentioning him, didn't you?
1997. Oh, did he? Oh, wow.
Within days of each other, but
Big Shirley
year
himself. Big Daddy, the rival of Giant Haystacks and arguably the most famous British wrestler of all time.
110%.
Why did everyone... I'm not disrespectful. I'm
Yeah.
provoking
No,
discussion.
no, you
Why
go
did-
and watch the matches
why
back
did
and you just
everyone-
don't get it, do you?
Do you not?
I don't get
I
it.
don't get either. But he was like the Hulk Hogan of the UK.
He was an everyman. He was
Yeah.
he was like Hulk Hogan and Dusty Rhodes rolled into one.
Yeah, I get to see that.
Basically, like, he was your everyday bloke. His ring gear, his original ring gear was made
So
out
we
of
all
his
go
wife's
around in
couch.
sparkly Union Jack hats, don't we?
No,
every
like,
man in England.
In terms of like, he was a big lad. He wasn't
northern,
in
wasn't he?
shape. He was northern.
Shirley. I'm Shirley Crabtree.
Yeah.
But then, like, he wasn't in impeccable physique. He spoke like a normal person. He would take the mick. He would do, like, he was a comedy wrestler, but a serious, credible threat because of his size.
He was like the Freddie Flintoff of his day.
Basically, yeah.
Everyone loves Freddie Flintoff. So yeah, but he sadly passed away.
And the Easy Chant. Everybody loved the Easy
And the
Chant.
Easy
didn't they?
Chant,
Yeah.
Oh,
Easy,
God, yeah.
which was
Easy,
brought back by
easy.
Soccer AM,
I miss
repopularized.
those days of soccer AM.
Yeah.
So bad
Oh,
now.
back with Lovejoy in that.
You shut up!
Now moving on to Jen would be just absolutely losing her mind if she was here because bloody hell, we've got some birthdays, which we do every time, but she always still
Yes.
gets really excited.
Little life does Jen have.
We'll start off with yes.
That's so Maven.
On the 26th of November, that is so Maven.
Oh, God.
It's Maven.
Apparently,
He's 42 today.
He's
Yes.
a bouncer these days.
Yes.
And somebody walked up to him and said, "Who?" Well, not in that accent. "Hey, man, are you Maven?" And he was like, "No, man, shut up.
He said
I never
no.
wrestled." He was so ashamed of his wrestling career, apparently.
What?
Which I,
think
guess
he's back on the indie scene.
it
now,
must
isn't
be
he?
hard. It must be
Recently,
hard. Yeah.
yeah.
Must be hard for them when they get just.
I still
Yeah.
think with Maven, one of my favourite spots is him eliminating Taker from the Rumble, and then just Taker going,
My favorite bits
"What
when he
did
was like
you do?"
main event level in like 2004 randomly. He would like against
Yeah.
Evolution and stuff like that. Just like Maven, you create a wrestling before you've edited anything.
Yeah.
There he is in the main event.
I liked his theme tune. Had like
Ah,
I can't remember it.
just had a guitar bit at the start. Recently, we've just at the time of recording anyway, it'll be a few weeks old now, but we put out a video ranking all the Survivor Series, and Maven was part of a Survivor Series team that won the right to, or every member of the team won the right to to GM a Raw, and I think it was Richard who edited it.
Odd stipulation.
I think it was Tubman who edited it because
was Richard, yeah.
I said in the voiceover, I wrote for Pacitti in the voiceover. We're pulling back the curtain right now.
Oh,
Pacitti said in the voiceover.
God.
People know we write them for each other. Pacitti said in the voiceover, don't know what Maven did with his night of action on.
He had a world championship shot, didn't he?
And Richard said put in the video, he put just a quick caption that said, gave himself a world championship shot and all. He didn't win. But that's what you do, isn't it? If you're a wrestler and you got to make the rules. I don't know why Baron Corbin doesn't book himself in one every week, because he did once recently. November 28th, we've got a few. Well, we've got a couple. The British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Again, arguably one of the most famous British wrestlers of all time.
yeah, it would have been 56 today.
Would have been 56.
Well, today on the 28th.
David Boy's had many great moments, winning at Wembley. You know, the one that I wanted to come up with a few more there before I went
I
to the
think
one.
you talk about Big Daddy. I think the second biggest name, like if you had to name a British wrestler, people would say
I'd
British
say
Bulldog.
Bulldog's number one.
Would you say
Globally.
Yeah, globally. But I think if people on the street, if they're of a certain age, they'll be able to name probably Haystacks, Big Daddy, and Bulldog without really having seen any of them matches.
Yeah.
Like everybody knew the British Bulldog.
Bulldog was the one who went global with it.
Yeah, 100%.
But the moment I like a lot with Bulldog is his comment on when the Shockmaster falls through the thing. You just hear Bulldog going, "You film right on his arse."
Do you remember when The Rock power slammed him on a pile of poo?
Yes.
Great moment.
It was made out of
poo.
no, it wasn't. It was fake poo, wasn't it?
Kayfabe.
I believe I heard Pritchard saying they made it out of like Snickers bars and stuff.
Nice. Delicious.
Yeah.
Worst things to be power slammed on.
Peanuts though, right in your back, right in your spine.
Ooh.
Summer Rae would also have a birthday on the 28th of November. She would be...
Would have.
If today was the... How does Jen do this? I don't understand. Also the 28th of November, happy birthday! It's Summer Rae's birthday. She'd be 35. Summer Rae
I
seems
thought
like...
you were about to read out the next one in that voice. I was going to be like, no!
Summer Rae would... seems like a really nice woman, actually.
I thought she
Yeah.
was underrated, me.
Yeah, me
As
too.
a character, not so much like the wrestling bit, but like as a character, she seemed to like get the silliness of
The
wrestling.
gist of it, yeah.
Yeah, she's a good heel manager for Tyler Breeze as well when he first came in.
Had a fish thrown at her. No, that was
Yes.
Lana.
Oh,
Though the cold fish was named... Yeah.
Yeah.
We all got confused in that
Yeah.
angle with Ziggler and Rusev.
yeah. Was
Twain-
that a legit punishment for them getting engaged then?
But the rumor was Vince always believed that Rusev wasn't good looking enough to be with a woman like Lana, so tried to break them up with Ziggler.
What's his?
Wow.
I don't understand if I don't think that can't be true.
That's not even his business.
Yeah.
29th of November. Now moving on. It would have been the 49th birthday of Hayabusa, a Japanese wrestling legend.
Unfortunately, passed away recently.
Yes, but sadly, he's probably most famously known for his injury, which is grim to watch.
Incredible wrestler, FMW, and like just basically was able to work so many different styles, like highly aggressive, ultra-violent wrestling through to like a higher flying lucha style.
He's mainly remembered for being a class high flyer.
Yeah, and like strikes, man. The strikes were unreal. And he had a cool mask.
He did.
And unfortunately, he would fold his neck backwards on a.
Did the ring snap or did it slip? Or?
He slipped on the rope trying to go for basically like a lion salt. And he folded his neck back and paralyzed himself.
Yeah.
But he was able to walk back into the ring before he died.
Yes,
and
which is good.
It was insanely emotional.
Just going to say, you've seen the picture of Pac with a mask on next to him.
Yes, I have actually.
I've not seen that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what Pac was wrestling as then, but
he's wearing a Hayabusa mask.
Pac.
The next birthday, also on the 29th of November, 52, is John.
Do you want to wish him a happy birthday with a big shout?
Knobhead, isn't he?
Is it birthday o'clock, Ross? Is it birthday o'clock?
He's a knobhead, isn't he?
Go on.
Big old knobhead.
Not even going to do
Awful
birthday
human
o'clock,
being.
mother flipper.
Really scared of us ever meeting him in person. Let's hope it never happens.
What's he going to do? Beat you up?
Big
Yes,
Cody.
yes, he's going to beat us up.
Say that.
I'm amazed at the 29th of November as well. So many bloody names.
The next one on the 29th, he'll be 69 today. Dutch
Hey.
Mantel. Big Dutch. One of the most he's been everywhere, hasn't he? Seen it all.
Yeah.
He was there when he wasn't in the room, but he was there for the infamous murder of Bruiser Brody in Puerto Rico. He's worked for WWE. He's worked all over the place, TNA, everywhere.
Yeah.
Came back as Del Rio's manager most recently, and Swagger and Cesaro.
Basically, brought Swagger into the world.
Well, that's the most important thing he did in wrestling.
Gave birth to him right there in the ring. Bathed him, put him in an American flag.
Some knobhead criticised WWE for having Swagger and Colt to be so like racist and stuff
They
like that.
were.
And they did that kayfabe worked promo thing. You seen that?
No.
Well, they're explaining to him, we're characters and this is what we do and this, that and the other. I'd recommend you watch it. It's very good.
For those who don't know, it's Zeb Coulter, if you recognise him
Yes.
from WWE. But his legacy in the business goes far back, like past that as a booker, and I don't know if he did any promoting. I don't know if he was a promoter or
I
not.
imagine he will have done.
Yeah, everyone
The
has,
age of
doesn't
him has to have done.
Yeah. One thing I'll always never forget, and I was disappointed, can't remember when it was, but it was when Del Rio came back with him as his manager, and he did a chairs match at a pay-per-view against someone, and maybe against Swagger, actually.
I remember this.
And I was so convinced that they were going to count Dutch Mantel's motorized scooter as a chair, and he was going to use it as a weapon and run over Jack Swagger. And it didn't happen. And it was one of those things where, like, you're so convinced it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And when it didn't, I was like, it affected the match for me. I was like, well, that was rubbish. It was crap. And finally, the penultimate one, but the final one on the 29th, Jerry the King Lawler, 69 today. Hey, Jerry,
He's been waiting all his life for his birthday.
Everyone knows Jerry Lawler, one of the most iconic voices of wrestling, and also back in the day, a legend of Memphis wrestling.
Then that is all.
Move on.
Moving on now to the 30th of November and our final birthday of the video. Oh, a favourite of mine, certainly. Christian will be
Mr. Blue
45
Dot.
this year. Mr. Blue Dot, yep. Do you want to explain what that is for anyone who might not have heard the story?
Hated Christian's face, thought he
Why?
was ugly as sin, and wanted to censor him. But when Raw was taped, I imagine, wanted to just put a blue dot over his face so that throughout all of the matches, you wouldn't be able to see his face.
It's so ridiculous because, like, even in wrestling, I'd argue that Christian is a moderately attractive man. Next to normal people, he's a very good-looking man.
Yeah.
What's Vince on about?
And Vince is just in a bubble, though, and he's surrounded by highly, highly attractive
Do you think
people.
he had like a
at all
ratty
times.
face or something?
I think, I don't know if it was
That's
because
fair
it was it during the singles? Was it after he cut his hair?
Maybe.
Or was it? I don't know. I do not know.
I don't know either. Apparently, one thing about Christian is I've never seen him in person, but apparently he's surprisingly big, like one of those wrestlers who you think, bloody hell, because he was always next to Edge, he was very tall.
Yes.
So I'm glad that he got a world title reign as well
Yes.
towards the end of his career. Deserves it. But sadly, is often used as he's kind of like, his name's also used in the same way as Jannetty. He's the tag partner
Yeah,
it.
I mean, he doesn't have a WWE DVD, for example. That came out recently.
It's now his mission never to have one.
Yeah.
What?
There's not a collection of his matches on DVD or Blu-ray.
What do you mean?
So
Like,
Edge
you do it for
has
every
got a
wrestler.
DVD.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like, oh, where's your DVD, Christian? He's like, oh, it's my mission to never have one now. But he's a very funny man, Christian. Listen to the
Yeah.
podcast, dry sense of humour, likes to talk about Edge's ass. How much he wants to slap it.
I liked how close him and Kane seemed, even though apparently he got on Kane's tits
Yeah.
all of the time.
It's like a little annoying thing next
Yeah.
to him all the time.
Lovely. Well, that has been This Week in Wrestling. I've been your stand-in host, Jack from Cultaholic.com. Thank you very much, Simon Ross, for joining me.
Thanks.
You got anything to plug?
You can follow me on Twitter at Less Defined.
At Ross on Wrestling.
Jack the Jobber. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. And don't forget, of course, to join us.